You know that moment when something feels really important to share? Maybe a belief, something that really guides you, and you think, gosh, this could really connect with someone else.
Oh, absolutely.
But then you just freeze, right? How
Yeah.
do you actually start that conversation? How do you bring it up naturally without it feeling like this sudden awkward shift?
Yeah, that hesitation is, it's super common. You want to go deeper, but figuring out that first step,
Mhm.
especially with topics close to your heart, it's tough.
Exactly. And that's really what we're digging into today. We've got this really interesting resource here. It's focused on an approach called T4T, stands for Training for Trainers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, it was originally designed to help people share their faith, more effectively. But what's really fascinating, I think, is that the underlying principles, they're about starting any kind of meaningful conversation.
That's right. Even if, faith isn't your specific focus, the practical steps in this resource about moving past small talk to, well, to stuff with real substance, they're incredibly useful. It's all about building those bridges.
Right, bridges to talk about what actually matters. So think of this deep dive as maybe your guide to understanding how to build them. We're going to unpack some key techniques from this T4T training. They call them gospel bridges, which are basically just ways to transition from everyday chat to the deeper stuff.
Okay.
So our mission today is to pull out those core methods and see, how they might be valuable for anyone really wanting to connect more deeply. Okay, let's get into it. What's the first big idea this resource puts forward?
Well, what's really interesting is this initial idea they emphasize, finding people who might already be, well, receptive, people who are already thinking about these things. They call them prepared hearts.
Prepared hearts.
Yeah, it suggests we're not forcing something, but maybe cooperating with a process already underway. Some people are just more open,
Right, kind of aligning with what's already going on in someone's head or life. And they mention this term persons of peace. What exactly does the source mean by that?
Okay, yeah. So the resource talks about finding these persons of peace through what they call the 3Ps: presence, power, and proclamation.
Okay, 3PS.
Yeah. So presence is about actively being there, engaging with people, showing you care
Right.
through your actions, real practical stuff.
Makes sense.
Power refers more to trusting that there's maybe a positive influence already working in someone's life, something that might create openness.
Okay.
And then proclamation is the clear sharing of your actual beliefs. So you see how presence builds trust, power maybe sparks curiosity.
And proclamation gives the actual info.
Exactly. It tackles different ways people might become receptive.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's less about pushing a topic and more about seeing an open door, maybe. Recognizing when someone's already thinking.
Precisely.
Now, the resource has this really powerful story about why waiting too long can be a problem.
Oh, yeah, that anecdote about the missionary team, it's quite something. They spent, 7 years building relationships, which sounds good, right?
Totally. Seems like the right thing to do.
But they held back on actually sharing their core message. And the result, well, it wasn't great when they finally did share.
Yeah, it was almost like hitting reset, wasn't it? The people they knew felt the relationship hadn't been fully transparent. It actually put up a wall.
Exactly. And the lesson there is pretty stark. Don't wait for that perfect moment. It might never come. The source even mentions another team that adopted a 5-minute rule.
5 minutes, wow.
Yeah. Their goal was to basically identify who they were and what they believed within the first 5 minutes of meeting someone new.
That's bold. It definitely challenges the usual idea of slowly building rapport.
It does. It raises questions, about that balance between being upfront and maybe coming on too strong early on.
Yeah, definitely. But it really hammers home the point that sometimes our own hesitation is the real barrier. Okay, so let's get into these specific bridge methods. The first one they talk about is the T4T Classic. It's based on sharing a personal testimony.
That's right. This method really leans into the power of your own story. Just a short one, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, about a significant change or a turning point in your life.
Okay, so what's the main goal there? Is it just telling a story about yourself?
Not quite. The main aim is really to connect human to human, to show some authenticity, maybe vulnerability.
Right.
That can build a connection, create some openness. And the resource suggests, right after you share your story, you smoothly transition into a core belief. In their framework, it's about assurance, this idea of knowing where you stand.
And how do they suggest you make that transition? Does it feel natural?
Well, they give some pretty direct phrasing examples, linking your experience to something potentially universal. You might say something like, I found this restored relationship, and maybe that's something you've thought about too. It aims to immediately offer a kind of pathway, a next step for understanding.
It sounds very direct, yeah. But I guess the goal is immediate hope or an answer. Okay, now, there's another method mentioned, used more in, like, rural settings. It combines miracles and testimony, TRT, or oral T4T.
Yeah, that approach recognizes that sometimes in certain contexts, demonstrating care very practically can be a powerful opener. The miracles part, as the source puts it, often involves things like praying for someone's specific needs and trusting for a positive outcome.
So showing belief through action, not just words.
Exactly. It's about tangible care that someone might see as, well, maybe divinely influenced or just deeply compassionate.
Right.
And the sequence they describe is pretty clear. First, address a need, maybe through prayer, maybe practical help. Then share your personal story, often one about overcoming something specific. And then you share the wider belief.
Okay, so action, then personal story, then broader message.
Yeah. The idea is that experiencing your care firsthand makes people more curious about your motivations, more open to hearing the why behind it.
That really makes sense. If someone helps you out in a big way, you're definitely going to wonder what drives them. Okay, method number 3. Any 3. This sounds like it's designed to quickly figure out where someone's coming from, belief-wise.
Yes, exactly. Any 3. The idea is anyone, any setting, any time. The goal is to quickly understand someone's religious background, if they have one, and then gently get them thinking about their own certainty within that system.
Okay, so what are the steps for any 3? How does it work?
It's basically 3 steps. First, get to the point. You ask directly, what's your religious background? Are you Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim? And you share your own too.
Okay, pretty direct.
Yeah, and it anticipates that common response, oh, all religions are basically the same. The source suggests agreeing partially, like, yeah, we're all trying to deal with these big human problems, right? Sin or reaching heaven or making merit.
So find common ground first, don't argue immediately.
Right. It acknowledges their view, but keeps the door open.
Okay, so what's step 2?
Step 2 is get them to lostness. Now, that term sounds maybe a bit harsh out of context.
Yeah, a little bit.
But in the source's framework, lostness just means a potential lack of clear assurance about, say, forgiveness or their ultimate standing within their own belief system. You explore this by asking questions based on their own framework.
Okay, like what kind of questions?
So, for a Muslim, you might ask, how confident do you feel about keeping the 5 pillars perfectly? Or how certain are you of paradise on Judgment Day? For a Buddhist, maybe, how many lifetimes do you think it takes to reach nirvana? The goal isn't to attack, but to prompt reflection. Do they feel certain within their own system?
Gotcha. So using their own beliefs
Yeah.
to maybe surface some uncertainty they already feel.
Yeah.
And then step 3.
Exactly. Step 3 is get to the gospel, or, more generally, share your contrasting perspective. You could say something like, well, my belief offers something a bit different. For me, there's a certainty about forgiveness, and then you briefly explain why, based on your beliefs.
Without sounding superior, I guess.
Right. Definitely not claiming superiority. The source gives other ways to phrase it, too, like, I found a way out of that cycle, or I experience a different kind of peace. You offer your belief as another possibility, one that might provide a different answer or assurance.
So any 3 really uses someone's current worldview as the launch pad for introducing a different one. Interesting. Now, it seems like across all these methods, the source really stresses practice.
Oh, absolutely. Huge emphasis on practice. They basically say, pick one bridge method and practice it over and over until it feels totally natural, second nature.
Just one to start.
Yeah, start with one. Don't try to master all 3 at once. You'll just get confused and probably won't do any of them.
Good advice.
And there's that story, remember, about the really gifted speaker whose methods were just too complex. Nobody else could actually copy them. So simplicity and repetition are key.
That makes perfect sense. If it feels awkward or complicated in your head, you're just not going to do it when the moment comes.
Exactly. Confidence comes from practice.
And then the resource wraps up with a pretty heavy section on urgency, right?
Yeah, it does. There's that reference to the story in Luke 16, the call from below.
Yeah.
It's used as a stark reminder of, well, the potential stakes involved in these conversations.
Right.
And then there's that personal story about the chaplain, the one who hesitated with a dying patient and missed the chance to connect.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really hits home the message, don't put it off. These opportunities to connect deeply, they might not come again.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
That the perfect moment might just be
Yeah.
now. And our own fear or hesitation could mean missing a real opportunity for connection.
Definitely. But ultimately, looking at these methods, these gospel bridges, What this deep dive shows, I think, is that starting these important conversations doesn't have to be this huge, scary thing.
Right.
The source gives these practical, learnable ways in, focusing on connection points, addressing those big human questions we all wrestle with.
So, for you listening, maybe think about which of these approaches kind of clicks with you. Is it sharing your story? Is it showing care through actions? Or is it that more direct worldview comparison approach of any three? Which one feels like it fits your style and the conversations you hope to have?
Yeah, and maybe a final thought to leave you with. If this resource is right, if there are people around you already thinking about this stuff, already sort of spiritually searching or prepared, what could happen? What might be possible if you just felt a little more ready, a little more confident to simply start the conversation?
Definitely something to mull over.